There's been a lot of theories and opinions coming from fans of the series on what may likely happen in Season 3 of Bridgerton. What are some of the best fan theories and would they happen? Let's find out. More of Colin and Penelope's relationship. Every Bridgerton fan knows that Penelope Featherington is quite clearly in love with Colin Bridgerton. Her affections are noticeable, and she's even gone to some pretty shady lengths to keep him available. Despite all this, Colin has remained painfully unaware of his friend's true feelings. He continually relegates her to the friend zone in ways that seem cold, but which are really just signs of him being completely clueless. Season 2 drops the casual tease that Colin might finally be getting the hint, but each time he stops just sort of realizing what's in front of him. Bridgerton has set up the next season's story by featuring it heavily in the previous one. In the first season, the second most featured storyline, we can probably agree, is Anthony's. His ill-fated romance with Sienna and the conclusion it leads him to very neatly sets up Season 2. Colin and Penelope's story certainly feels like the most likely candidate to come next if we're going by that standard. In Season 2, both characters get a significant amount of screen time dedicated to their individual arcs and the growth of their relationship from childhood friends to something more. Really, how much longer can a show draw out its existing dynamic before giving viewers some payoff? Compare that with Benedict, who would be the logical next in line according to the order of the books. It seems blatantly obvious that Colin and Penelope's romance will eventually be the main subject of a Bridgerton season. They could be the focus of Season 3 if the show's writers split from the order of the books. But whether or not their love story properly starts in the third season, it definitely seems like it's time for them to take a step forward. One more series of Colin being completely unaware would be a bit repetitive, and with Eloise's discovering Penelope's secret, Lady Whistledown's identity at the end of Season 2, things could start crumbling for her very quickly. A Reddit user shared their opinion. It's painful we'd have to bear watching 3 seasons of Colin being an idiot, and quite frankly, we all agree. Toward the ends of the season, fans are also assuming that Colin and Penelope have a big falling out before coming back together in love. Exploring Eloise Bridgerton's character. Eloise Bridgerton has been one of the best parts of Bridgerton ever since Season 1 aired. Her meaningful attacks on Regency England's patriarchal society are biting and hilarious, and they provide a much-needed challenge to the old-fashioned standards of the time. Season 2 continues that trend, with Eloise criticizing high society and even attending some feminist rallies in disguise. She also has her first fight with love in the form of Printer's assistant Theo Sharp. Eloise and Theo's young love story is the great highlight of Season 2. It shows that fair romance can exist outside of fancy balls, and it allows Eloise to experience a new range of emotions without compromising her core beliefs. Fans believe that she'll get to explore this new world even more in Season 3, and that she'll become even more political. The actress said in an interview, "I like the idea of her becoming political. Obviously, romance is a very important part of the show, but out of all the characters, Eloise is the one you'd like to see go a slightly different route. Because we see it in Season 2 where she's meeting different people in different parts of society and reading new things, so I'd like to see that continue." In a time where women are viewed as property and marriages are arranged through complicated business arrangements, Eloise could get to do something that females of her status are usually restricted from: go on dates. Jessie herself has said that she'd love for Eloise to date rather than going down a singular romantic path toward marriage. "I'd love if Eloise could just change the mold a bit and just have a boyfriend. It's not because they're going to get married, but Eloise just be the person that introduces the concept of the partner, just like the boyfriend or the girlfriend, rather than here's your suitor, now you get married in a week." Benedict Bridgerton's sexuality. Is Benedict Bridgerton bisexual? That's a question that Bridgerton completely ignores in Season 2, despite it being heavily hinted at in the previous season. Benedict comes off as queer-coded in Season 1 and even appears to flirt with a gay man, but there's no such touches in his story in Season 2, which disappointed a lot of fans. Because queer love is less visible in the traditional romance genre, changing Benedict's sexuality could be a powerful move on Netflix's part, and there's a lot of fans who are theorizing that kind of representation. But will the streaming giant have enough courage to follow through? That's up for discussion. Luke Thompson is witty and charming in the role of Benedict, and the actor has said that he's open to exploring the character's sexuality in different ways. People get very excited when they want everything to be explored in the first few seasons, and every corner of sexuality, gender, he said. There's lots of space for him to explore all sorts of things. With all 8 Bridgerton siblings bound for love if this series runs that long, it seems reasonable that at least one of those stories would diverge from the straight standard accepted by society at the time. Yes, it would be a substantial departure from Quinn's books, but given how much Bridgerton has already changed, it's far from impossible. Younger Bridgerton's takeover. In its first 2 seasons, Bridgerton is focused on the 5 oldest Bridgerton siblings: Anthony, Benedict, Colin, Daphne, and Eloise. They've already had a lot of time dedicated to their values, desires, and personal lives. With so many characters coming in and out of the story, it can be hard to remember that there are still 3 other young Bridgertons who've barely been developed on screen, and those are Francesca, Gregory, and Hyacinth. Because the 3 three youngest siblings have all been kids in the first 2 seasons, it makes sense that we haven't seen much of them. Gregory has a nice seesaw with his big brother Anthony in season 2 where they reminisce about their late father, but other than that, the youngest mostly serves as comic relief. In season 3, that could start to change though, as many suspect that we might get to see more of them. If Francesca, Gregory, and Hyacinth are each going to star in their own seasons one day, they may need to start being developed more fully. And season 3 could be a perfect time for that. Gregory and Hyacinth in particular seem to be very close, and their relationship could be an interesting component of each of their eventual love stories. Francesca is the Bridgerton who's been least explored, which means that she has the potential to be basically whoever the series wants her to be. In short, there are a lot of potential theories wrapped up in the young Bridgertons, and it's time the show starts using it. Dramatic story switch. There's an emerging theory that the show could switch everything up altogether. The final episode of Bridgerton Season 2 comes down hard on Colin and Penelope's misunderstanding that convinces her he has zero interest in ever being more than friends, followed by the Penelope and Eloise breakup. Although these 2 moments could be more about giving them a lead-up to their romances in a more distant future, some fans suspect it's proof the show will either skip over Benedict's story or move his main character arc to Season 4 in order to focus on Colin, Pen, and Eloise. If the show were to do that, it would overturn everything. Colin, Eloise, and Francesca's romances all happen simultaneously in the social season of 1825, 10 years from where the show is now. To move to Colin would be a radical decision. Switching him and Benedict would alter a lot. To move all 3 would be even bigger and could make season 3 and 4 a 2-season story about all 3, skipping over Benedict altogether. Future of Lady Whistledown. In Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, Penelope goes head-to-head with a faux Lady Whistledown. Now that Eloise knows Penelope is the one behind the gossip sheet, the stage is set not only for her identity to be revealed, but also for someone else to either impersonate Whistledown or debut a rival gossip sheet. With the youngest Featherington doubling down on her secret identity after having a falling out with her best friend, and hearing Colin declare he would never court her, it would be fitting if someone stepped up to challenge her reign as the town's gossip girl. That person could be any number of people, from the equally secretive dressmaker Genevieve Delacroix, the Queen Charlotte herself. What matters most is that a second Whistledown entering the ring would give Penelope a problem to solve and a reason to take off the introverted identity that London society has saddled her with. Extra drama for the Featheringtons. Lady Featherington stood up for her daughters at the end of season 2, but that doesn't mean she's losing her edge. She'll always be a crafty survivor, and soon she's going to be faced with money troubles all over again. This is why she would be both shocked and delighted to find Penelope's stash of cash. From her perspective, Lady Whistledown could be used for blackmail purposes. If Penelope's mother catches wind of her daughter's secret identity, then you better believe she'll try and force Pen to use her talents to defraud money from the richest members of society. This could put Penelope in a position where she has to choose to walk away from her family, which may lead to disgracing them and herself in the process. Or she would rather prefer to stay and do her mother's bidding. Colin and Will partnership. Will Mondrich was left adrift in season 2. If suspected, he would have had a bigger role to play if his pal Simon hadn't permanently moved to the country, never to be seen again. Instead, he spends the entire season trying to attract customers to his new gentleman's club, something he doesn't succeed at until Colin makes him change his mind. This seems like the perfect opportunity for Colin to find a sense of purpose by becoming Will's partner. Now that he's back from his travels, the third Bridgerton son is looking for a way to prove himself, and the club could be the answer. Plus, if he strikes up a proper friendship with a former boxer, both characters will benefit from having a new confidant, which is something Colin will need if he really is to be season 3's leading man. Are there other mind-blowing theories that we may have missed? Let us know below in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Bye!